This Namibian BEE expert says the inclusion of coherent monitoring and evaluation mechanisms in government's long-awaited empowerment policy, the transformation of economic and social empowerment framework will go a long way in benefiting the country. Kasuto says monitoring and evaluation is considered worldwide as an important tool in public sector management reform and is focused on the attainment of outcomes and development results at project, program and policy levels. Ferdinand Bulale spoke to him about the lessons Namibia can learn from South Africa in measuring the policy against its set objectives and anticipated outcomes.
With a view at the South African Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Policy and Act, there are quite a number of lessons that can be drawn from the South African experience to better inform the implementation of the anticipated TESEF. One of these, amongst many, is the monitoring and evaluation framework. The South African experience shows us that 4 years after the implementation of BEE in South Africa, there's yet to have been established a monitoring and evaluation framework that is able to measure the progress of BEE towards its objectives and better obviously inform the implementation and maybe the redesign, if necessary, of BEE. I think that in anticipation of a policy such as TESEF in Namibia, it is important that we include a monitoring and evaluation framework with an appropriate set of indicators to assess progress towards all the objectives and anticipated outcomes of TESEF. That is definitely a lesson that we should inculcate into TESEF. There are various other lessons also that I think are quite important, such as the reprioritization of rural development. The South African experience also shows you that the narrow focus on private sector empowerment should, although very important, should be something that is also coupled with the empowerment of society as a whole, or the socio-economic development of the poor. Let us truly allow it to be broad-based and look beyond private sector empowerment, although that is also very important, but look beyond that and look at how we can create enabling mechanisms that will bring the poor towards a mainstream economy.
Let me take you back to where you were talking about the monitoring and evaluation, which in your view is very important. How do you foresee this being achieved?
Yes, I think that the literature and experiences show that once objectives have been set, in terms of policy objectives, for example, one should try and or attempt to address these objectives by creating indicators that will be able to measure these objectives. And through that, we would be able to create a monitoring and evaluation framework that is part of the design of TESEF or the policy, so that from the onset we are able to see where we are headed and if need be, make adjustments towards attaining our objectives.
In TESEF, the document speaks of a governing body. The South African document has a council. The president is to set up a council. How would you want this body to operate to ensure that, based on the pillars that these two documents are being guided with, that they arrive at the desired destination?
Yes, in fact, there's quite a strong similarity in that sense, in terms of from the South African document, a BEE advisory council is to be set up by the president. From the TESEF strategy, a TESEF governing body is to be set up should the bill go to parliament. So amongst the roles and responsibilities of these councils are to monitor and evaluate BEE. I think that the intention is quite good. I think that it should also be aligned to a institution or a unit that is able to, within that framework do the monitoring and evaluation of TESEF. I think that a dedicated office is required for that specific function. It is also, again, another lesson that one would draw from the South African experience is that we should create such council as soon as the legislation has been passed. South Africa has waited for 4 years post legislative implementation before the council was set up. Hence, monitoring progress has been quite a challenge on that side. So we would want to avoid that challenge, but we would also want to have the necessary institutional arrangements in place in order to effectively monitor and evaluate BEE.
Well, earlier on you drew our attention to the fact that emancipating or empowering those in the rural areas will also inject that pace and strength, that needed pace and strength in the economy into the future. We see this also in China, where this type of initiatives were driven by General Zedong and others, and today they are boasting with a strong rural base. How would you want this document to guide us, and where would you want the emphasis then in the emancipation of the rural?
Yes. I think that the TESEF document, or the TESEF strategy, the anticipated policy, is a very strong vehicle that can in fact emancipate the rural poor. We need to include enabling mechanisms to do that. And again, it will require us to apply our minds as to how do we go about creating the mechanisms that will allow the rural poor, as I was saying also earlier, to move towards the mainstream economy. We have seen that the contribution of small businesses to the GDP is quite significant. And in enhancing the economy in that sense, it's very important that focus is laid by TESEF to creating institutions and agencies that are able to address the advancement of the rural poor towards mainstream economy. Perhaps formalizing businesses within rural areas is one example. Value addition is another emphasis that we have as a Namibian economy, and it is one that can be included or downstreamed again through TESEF.
At the moment in Namibia, the argument or the debate is on whether Vision 2030 will materialize with the desired results, looking at how TESEF can complement the national development plans that we have in place, and also this guiding national document. What's your take on it?
With the aims of Namibia to become an industrialized nation by 2030, these are goals that we have set as a country, and I think that they are goals that can be met should we allow the proper vehicles to be put in place. I think TESEF is a key document in doing so. When you look at the Malaysian experience, for example, where most of the principles of BEE in South Africa were drawn from, the very same NEP, or National Economic Policy, was one that was very broad and addressed matters of skills development. It addressed matters of education. It really emphasized on that. And I think that a document such as TESEF can really be one that would drive us further towards the goals that we have set within our national development plan.